Go lay down. No, lie down.
Nice. Chloe.
Sit. Sit.
Good. Stay.
Okay,
Stay.
so.
Yeah, we gotta work on that one.
I know. She'll lie down. She'll go bother the cats. Max, lie down. Go lie down. Okay, so remember to talk loudly.
Loudly.
Yes, because we don't have mics. So we thought it would be fun to do a Q&A. We get asked a lot of questions by family, friends, sometimes people we barely know about this whole homestead operation. So we thought we'd sit down and answer some of these questions.
Answer some of your questions.
Yeah. So I've got a list here.
I have no idea what order we're going in, by the way.
The questions aren't organized. They're just there. So, the first question, it's a two-part question, sort of. So what is homesteading? What is off-grid?
Okay, well, let's talk about the grid for a second. We're talking about networks of electricity, sewer, water, internet. So, I mean, of course, anytime you're in a city or in a suburb or really in any kind of established neighborhood, you have all those things that, you know, we kind of take for granted. Out here, there's none of that. There's just bare land.
Yeah.
So we have to set up our own infrastructure. We cut in our own driveway. We cut in our own water lines. We set up a solar system for electricity. We set up a septic system for sewage.
We haul our water.
We haul our water. Yep. Basically, homesteading is going out to a spot where there is land that you can work and live on, and you basically just make it yours.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're homesteading on 80 acres, but you can homestead on much less than that.
There are people who actually make quite a good living actually homesteading and farming on a half-acre plot.
Yeah.
In the suburbs.
Yep.
And that's totally fine. It's not really homesteading, but you can be self-sufficient.
It's a start toward self-sufficiency.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously in spaces like that, you may not be able to raise animals, big animals like pigs or cows or llamas or things like that, but you can raise chickens.
Yep.
You might want to check with your municipality to make sure that that's allowed, but most of the time, laying chickens are totally fine in most places.
Yep. Bees are an option.
Bees, potentially.
Yeah. Gardening.
Absolutely.
So filling up your pantry as much as possible from your own land. So yeah, there are lots of ways to homestead. We are doing it a little bit more full out, but there are people who are more off the grid than we are. We still have cell phones. We still use propane. We have internet. So technically, we're still tied in sort of to the grid.
Well, we're tied into the supply chain.
To the supply chain, yeah. But we're not, we could cut it off and we would be okay.
Yep.
So, all right, next question. I got this one a lot when we first told people we were moving. It was, what do you do for money? Is there anywhere to work out there? Are you independently wealthy? So,
let's take the last one first.
Yeah. No. We are not independently wealthy. We wish that would be great. But no, we are not independently wealthy. As far as work out here, honestly, there's not much. A lot of it is minimum wage jobs. There's nothing wrong with minimum wage jobs. The problem is that you spend maybe half your paycheck in fuel getting there and back. Are. And so, unless you can get a higher paying job, It doesn't even have to be like what we were making in Utah. We were salaried, but even $15, $20 an hour, it's hard to come by within the 30-minute drive of us either way. So to get anywhere, we'd have to go an hour to 2 hours.
Well, let's define terms here for a second. We actually live in a place that is affectionately known as Witchwell, but it happens to be about equal distances between two small towns, neither of which has much in the way of employment. So generally you have to actually go past those two towns on either direction to the bigger towns that are beyond. So it's about maybe an hour and 15 minutes one direction, probably an hour and 30 minutes the other direction. So there's not a lot.
No.
Remote work is certainly a possibility. Obviously our workforce is moving a lot more toward that, but in order to have that, you have to get reliable internet service, and that has been a challenge.
It has. We have decent service, but for a full-time remote job, it's not where it should be. So, yeah. And then
there are satellite options available. HughesNet is out here, but it's exorbitantly expensive. Starlink did their beta test out here. That one's a little bit more reasonable.
We're on the waiting list.
In line for them, but now that they've moved out of beta, they're not focusing on the outlying areas anymore. They're focused on showing a profit. So, yeah, we're in line. We'll see when that comes.
Yeah. So right now we use mobile data from our phone company. We use Verizon.
Yep.
For us, it's the best coverage out here. We had to research that before we moved, and we go through our data pretty quickly if we're not careful. So, yeah, I mean, when you were working full time, there were days when it was so slow, he'd have to drive to a town to get
on the library's Wi-Fi.
Yeah, to work. So that's not an issue anymore, but it is anyway. And then what do we do for money? So
Well, let's talk about our nest egg, actually, because we got really, really lucky with the real estate market where we lived.
Yes.
We say that we lived in Utah for almost 10 years. We bought a great place a little bit further out from the main corridor where everybody lives.
Got a great deal on it.
Got an amazing deal on the house.
Yeah.
But in that nearly 10-year span, everybody moved out with us. Which was frustrating from, a lifestyle perspective, but
Oi!
Hey! It was frustrating from a lifestyle perspective, but from a real estate perspective, it actually was a pretty incredible boon. So we sold our house, we put that into savings, we put that into some investment accounts. Those have actually returned more than what we put in. But not by a whole lot.
We have cashed out retirement. This is our retirement plan. We're not recommending that for you, if this is what you're going to do. But for us, it felt right, because this is where we want to be for the rest of our lives. So, we're giving ourselves the first 6 months just to kind of get established, and then we'll reevaluate at that time and decide whether or not we need to look for part-time jobs, look for full-time jobs. Hopefully we can make a living from our homestead. That is the eventual goal, is to make a living from our land. So we're still figuring that out. Okay, are you building from the ground up? Are you going to build a house? Because we live in a camper right now.
Yep. The answers to those questions are yes, and eventually yes.
Yeah.
So yes, we're literally cutting into bare ground out here. It's never had any kind of, that we've been able to find. There are some old foundation stones at a different part of our property, but not where we're building right now.
And we found a couple of fence posts that were put up, but the fence was never put in. So it's
the fence was never finished.
Yeah.
So it's possible that other people have used this land before for animal grazing, but nobody's ever built any kind of infrastructure out here. So yeah, we're doing that all ourselves.
Yep. And yeah, eventually, in several phases from now, we will break ground on a house. So we're okay in our camper. It's actually pretty standard out here. All of our homestead friends live in a camper. Theirs are bigger than ours.
Some of them, not by much.
Not by much, yeah. We decided that we didn't want to get too comfortable in the camper. So we went small, we went cheap. And the goal is that, yeah, it's an okay place for us to live. It gives us shelter, a place to sleep, cook, all that. But
Well, let's clarify that for a second, because we want to stay motivated to continue working.
yes,
We don't want to get so comfortable to the point that we don't want to actually get out and continue working on the homestead. So that's why we chose something that would be good enough, but certainly not indefinite. There
Right.
is a definite timeline on this.
yeah.
Anyway,
The next question, do you watch your kitties when they're outside?
kind of.
Most of the time. As you know, we've lost one cat. That was because she was quick, and getting out the door. And
We like to believe that she's still okay, but she's found another home.
yeah, probably hasn't though. Let's be real.
Yeah, it's a farm in upstate.
That's right.
You know,
She's living on a farm. Our other cats, Lucian's not super fast about going outside. Roosevelt is quick. We have to watch him. And there have been a few times when he's gotten out at night and scared me. And
Well, Roosevelt's coloring actually lends itself a little bit better to this landscape out here.
yeah,
So he does have that going for him. Plus, he's wily. He's a pretty wily cat. So
yeah, he's the most adventurous of our cats in terms of like starting new things, doing new things.
yeah.
Lucian likes to be outside now, but he's very light colored, so we don't like him out.
Well, he prefers to be outside when we're outside.
Yeah. So
But so
most of the time,
kind of, I guess, is the.
yeah.
It's kind of yes and no. We'll let them out to wander. They usually stay close to the homestead. When they start to wander toward the edges of what we've cleared, that's when we start to try to call them back.
Yep. So, and if we're leaving, we don't like to leave them outside while we're gone. It's happened by accident once with Roosevelt, but he was fine.
He was a turd.
Yeah. So yeah. Why does Nathan always have a firearm?
Oh, well, that's to prevent irritating people from visiting. Okay, no, I'm kidding. No, there are real life threats out here because we're not in an established community. We have to live symbiotically with wildlife out here, and that includes wolves, coyotes, cougars, bobcats, bears.
Somebody
even.
saw a bear cub out in this area.
Yeah, not 2 miles from here.
Yeah, the other day, just like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So,
Well, not only that, they've actually seen full mature bears out there
Yeah.
as well.
are you ready for visitors?
Yes and no. Yes, absolutely. We want visitors all the time. Are we equipped to entertain? Not so much.
Are we equipped to house you? Definitely not.
Yeah.
You can come and stay in a tent.
You can come and stay in a camper or an RV.
Yep, we recommend that. You can stay in a motel, hotel about an hour away and come just spend the day with us. But those are kind of the options right now. Hopefully, eventually, next phase or two, we'll be able to put in some guest accommodations. So, okay. Are there grants for becoming self-sufficient?
There are some grants that are available. We haven't done a whole lot of research on those yet, but there are. We do happen to live in a food desert.
That opens us up
So yeah, there
for
are a lot
possibilities.
There are a lot of development programs, infrastructure programs that are state-run, are federally run, are even privately run, where you can qualify for a grant for different agriculturally aimed experiments, I guess. Excuse me.
Yeah.
For example, there is a $45,000 grant that's available for the study of aquaponics, which I'm looking into currently, because that's definitely something we want to do.
Yeah.
But more info to follow on that one.
Yeah. Why Arizona?
Well, a couple of reasons. Number one, the land was affordable.
Yes.
We did look at a number of different places.
Throughout the South, Midwest even.
We looked in Oregon, we looked in California, we looked in Texas.
I was looking in Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York.
We were looking out of the country.
Deep South.
But yeah, we wanted a long growing season. We wanted a mild winter. But we wanted more than anything to be able to afford the space that we wanted. And there are some places where, for the same amount of money that we would have paid for our entire ranch, you would have gotten maybe 2 acres.
Yeah, without a house.
Without a house.
Right.
That's
so,
right.
So yeah, that was probably the biggest factor. That, and it felt right. You know, we kept being drawn to this area, came and visited, and it was like, this is our home. So, have you seen any more snakes?
We haven't.
No.
No. Apparently the snake stick thumpers are working. We did get those installed. We still have a reserve of several of them, so that as we start building other outbuildings, we'll be able to keep the snakes further away from those buildings as well.
Yep.
We do have a friend who studies reptiles, studies snakes, worked with them for a while, who's taught us quite a lot.
Yeah.
So we may get to a point where if we run across another rattlesnake, we may relocate it rather than
not. We'll see. We're not there yet. But we definitely are open to non-lethal snakes. Because those are really good for a homestead.
King snakes, gopher snakes, even
Yeah.
garter snakes. We'd love to have those out here.
We haven't seen any to relocate to our property, but we also haven't seen any more of the ones we don't like either. Oh, but did I? Yeah, it's recording. Okay. Huh. What does open grazing mean?
Open grazing is a very interesting thing where cows have more rights than landowners do.
Or at least the ranchers
Okay.
think that.
That's a bit of an exaggeration. Basically, it means that in the state of Arizona, you need to fence the cows out if you don't want them wandering through your land.
Yeah.
And it is the responsibility of the landowner to fence their own property if they don't want cows wandering through it.
It's not the responsibility of the rancher.
Right.
So we do have cows that come through, as you've seen, and
they get a mouthful of grass from our property, and then they mosey on.
yeah. And right now, that's not an issue for us. Eventually, with our own animals,
Yeah.
when we're growing food and things like that, planting trees, cows can be destructive. And
Incredibly.
so we will have to fence at least part of our property. And certainly we are going to fence our own cows in when we get them. They won't just wander. But yeah, makes life exciting.
I don't know about exciting. Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so what made you want to homestead? Oh, that's a great question. We've been thinking about some version of this
What got us started on this?
forever. We were originally thinking, I have family in Mississippi, there's family land there. So at one point we were thinking about building on family land. And that just didn't work out, wasn't right for us. But we've always wanted to, I want animals, I want horses, I want,
She wants giraffes and dolphins. Yeah, that's not going to happen in any of our first 6 phases.
he's not wrong. I would never have dolphins. A giraffe, maybe, if I could rescue it or something. I love all the animals. But I am one of those people who I either need to be in a really big city like New York City, or I need to be out here away from people. Like, I'm not a neighborhood person. So this works for me really well. I think, though, mostly it's this idea of being self-sufficient that's just kind of built over the years. of growing our own food, of raising our own animals that we eat, of having what we need and want in our fingertips, I guess. Building a dream home. I mean, we dream big, so this will probably not be on the grander end of our dreams.
Well, but
it's a real
we've been talking
possibility.
about this. We've been talking about this for close to 10 years.
Yeah.
We've been doing some really dedicated research over the past maybe 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Well, probably longer than that.
Longer
now.
than that.
Anyway, but with everything that happened with the pandemic starting 2019, 2020, everything that happened with the supply chain that's still going on, everything that's happening with reliance on foreign shipping and nobody to check in, the supplies that we need for everyday life, that kind of freaked us out a little bit. And I mean, we planned on doing this maybe 3 or 4 years from now.
Yeah. This was
But-
definitely sooner than we anticipated.
Yeah. But we decided that with everything going on, getting started was probably more important, even if we weren't as prepared as we wanted to be.
Yeah. So far, no regrets.
No regrets.
Yeah. Where did you learn how to do all of this?
That assumes that we know how to do all
I know,
of this.
right?
We're making this up as we go.
We are. YouTube, books,
Yep.
advice.
Advice from other people.
Yeah, exactly. From other people, trial and error.
There's a lot of that.
And yeah, we're still figuring it out every day. Every day. We don't know what we're doing. That's part of what makes it interesting.
But we either succeed at what we try to do, or we learn what's not supposed to happen for next time.
Yeah. Yeah. Hope. How soon do you film it? Okay, I think this is more of a... Oh, hey, the guys are here. We'll come back.